Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening and for tuning in. And this week, we are going to talk about my favorite cultured food. And my favorite cultured food is kefir. It was the first cultured food I tried, and it's the one that I saw the most benefits from, although the other cultured foods have had a tremendous impact on my life as well. But kefir, it's just, I tell you, it's just one of my favorite things in the whole world. And I have it every single day, and it continues to shine forth and do things for me that I never thought possible. And I love kombucha. I love cultured veggies. Cultured veggies, if you haven't read my Can Cultured Vegetables Help with COVID-19 blog, you need to, because there's a lot of research now. There's a lot of evidence of how effective these can be when combating any kind of virus, especially COVID-19. So I'll put that link in the description below. But if you haven't checked out my kombucha page, 7 Reasons I Drink Kombucha, I love that too. And I have a lot of podcasts on that and articles. And I love sourdough bread. I love water kefir. I love coconut kefir. There's so many cultured foods that I love. But anyway, back to kefir. Kefir was the first cultured food that I ever tried. And it was really the one that convinced me that there was something special about these probiotic foods. At the time, it was it 2001? I'm trying to remember back. It was 19 years ago. Well, yeah, so it was 2001. And I had a newborn baby that was 8 weeks premature. So she was having problems. I had gestational diabetes with my pregnancy, and then it went away after I had her. And then a few months later came back, and I had high blood pressure. I had a whole bunch of problems. And it was kefir that really turned my life around, not just for my premature infant, but for me too. And I saw things happen that I didn't think could happen. My diabetes, blood sugars normalized, and my blood pressure came down into the normal range, and it made me a believer. And there wasn't a lot of research back then. There was a little bit, but fast forward 19 years later, there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of research. I just found like 5 more articles on why kefir can be very effective for your blood pressure, because it works on an enzyme in the stomach that can naturally lower blood pressure in 1 out of 3 people. And it's a pretty amazing thing, and it did it to me. So I've continued to drink it all these years because of that effect that it has on my body. And so now I want to teach you something that perhaps you don't even know. But, 19 years ago when I first found kefir was the first one. If you haven't listened to my story on YouTube, you ought to. It kind of tells the whole thing on there. But I found a way to make it even taste better than it already did. Kefir tastes kind of like unsweetened yogurt, or it's just a little bit more tart tasting. And if you do something called second fermenting it, which I'm going to explain to you, which is what this podcast is about, it not only makes it much less sour, but it flavors it. But it also makes the nutrients in it skyrocket. And it's one of my favorite ways to have kefir. I have it in my fridge all the time. I have a slice of orange peel in my kefir jar, and I just keep adding more kefir to it. And then every once in a while, I'll stick a new one in there. But it does give it a wonderful taste and flavor. And I really do it because it tastes so good. That's although the nutrients are important, the nutrients do skyrocket, but I really love the taste. That's the main reason I do it. So the reason that the nutrients skyrocket when you second ferment your kefir. Now, let me explain to you what second fermenting is before we get into all that, because I realize I'm rushing ahead. So when you second ferment your kefir, you make your kefir like you regularly would, right? So you have the grains out, or you just have a jar of kefir that you've made with Easy Kefir, whichever way you do it. And so the grains aren't in it. What you do is you take that jar of kefir and you place a small piece of fruit into it. And it can be a lemon peel, just like a 6-inch piece of lemon if you've got a quart of kefir, or a lemon peel or an orange peel. You can just take a small piece, just take a vegetable peeler, just peel off a little bit of the fruit and place it in the jar. And then I used to leave it in the kefir jar for like 6 to 24 hours, which I don't do anymore because it makes the kefir separate into whey and curds. And I actually think it works better if you just put it in the jar for like an hour on your counter and then you put it in the fridge and let it do its work in the fridge. And so what happens is when you do this, all of those probiotics that are in the kefir suddenly they've already made it into kefir, right? So they've already eaten all the milk sugars out of the kefir. So when you add a piece of fruit, and it can be like a strawberry or a couple blueberries. I mean, I have a whole bunch of things. I'm going to tell you later what I do. But normally I do a lemon peel and orange peel. But when you place that piece of lemon or piece of orange, which is not very big, you don't want too much because then it over ferments. You put that in the jar and you let it sit, you put a lid on it, let it sit for an hour and then place in the fridge. What happens is it's giving the microbes a new fuel source for the kefir. So they start to eat the lemon or the orange or the strawberry, whatever you put in there. They start to eat, that's fuel for them. So they start to eat it and they start to grow and multiply rapidly because they've kind of, they've slowed down their amount of food because they've eaten so much of the milk sugars out of the milk. Well, now you've given them more food. So they perk up and they start growing like crazy. They start multiplying, but they also increase the B vitamins and especially the folic acid in kefir. And it's a lot. And it's just because you've given them something new to eat. And then it makes the taste of the kefir much less sour, and it'll have a slight hint of orange or lemon or strawberry, whatever you've put in there. And it is delicious. It's far superior to just regular kefir. I know a lot of moms who do this for their kids because the kids really like it and they were having a hard time getting their kids or their picky family members to have kefir. And when they second ferment it, everybody loves it. And often you don't even need to flavor it anymore because it tastes so good. And I got this information from I call him a kefir guru. His name is Dom, and he resides in the beautiful land of Australia. And when it comes to kefir, he is the man. He knows so much about kefir. And, he was the one that said that second fermenting kefir takes away the sourness. So I tried it, but he also did a lot of research and found that the B vitamins, the folic acid, and the calcium magnesium became much more bioavailable, which means that your body can take them in and use it immediately. Basically, it's like a pre-digested food, but it is loaded with enzymes. So almost all of the cultured foods are pre-digested foods. So they make whatever you eat with them. Say you have a cup of kefir with a bowl of oatmeal or something. You're going to get more nutrients from the kefir, but you're also going to get more nutrients from the bowl of oatmeal because it's going to help, because there's so many strains of good bacteria in the kefir. It's going to help digest your oatmeal. It's going to help your body use those nutrients faster, and you're going to get more of them because you have a pre-digested food that you're eating it with. So it is one of the things that I think can really change not only your gut bacteria, but the whole way that your digestive system works. Because remember, guys, it isn't so much what you're eating, it's what you're digesting. So you could have the perfect diet, but if you don't have the right gut bacteria and you don't have the right enzymes, and enzymes are huge. Enzymes do so much more than digestion. They even help your brain work. Your body makes gazillions of enzymes. And sometimes if that slows down, then you're not digesting the food, but you're also not getting the nutrients from the food because you don't have the right enzymes. And your body makes different kinds of enzymes to break down your food. It has, proteases, amylase, it has all these different types of enzymes so your body can digest them. And if you're struggling a lot with digestion, I would highly recommend you take some enzymes. We have some that we sell. I love them. They're called full spectrum enzyme. I'll put that in the link below. But sometimes when you're first getting started and you're trying to fix your gut, enzymes are a godsend because they just give your body a little extra help. So if you need some of those, but all cultured foods are loaded with enzymes. And sometimes when you're eating these foods with other foods, it makes it so much easier for your body to digest them and to get the nutrients they need from them that makes up the body that you live in. So, that phrase that says you are what you eat. Well, it's really not true because it's what you digest, because you could eat stuff all day long, and if your body doesn't have the enzymes for it, or if it can't break it down, then you're not getting what you need from that food. Okay, so let me explain to you real quickly one more time how to second ferment your kefir. So you've made your kefir, right? Take out the grains. You have your kefir in a jar. I like a glass canning jar. Now, you take a piece of fruit. Now, here are some suggestions for you. You could take a strawberry, but don't put a whole bunch of strawberries. Put like one strawberry in a quart. Because if you put too much in, it starts eating those sugars like crazy, and it makes your kefir separate into whey and curds. And that's okay if it separates into whey and curds. It's still good for you, but it's a little less appetizing. Like, for instance, berries, blueberries. Put 10 or 15 blueberries at the most in a quart jar. You could even just put 5 in there, and that would be plenty. And berries are high in vitamin C, and they're going to have a very strong anti-inflammatory property. And you can even use dried strawberries, freeze-dried strawberries. They're selling those a lot everywhere, and they're really good in your kefir. So you put like a strawberry in there, or a piece of lemon peel, or a piece of orange peel. Put the lid on the jar, sit on your counter for an hour, and then place in the fridge, and leave the fruit in the jar in the fridge. And if you've made a big jar and you're not going to drink it all, here's what you can do. You can take out, like, let's say you have a quart jar and you only want a cup of kefir. So the next day you take your jar that has the fruit in it and you drink some of it, put that jar back in the fridge, and you can add more kefir to that jar and just leave the fruit in there. And you could do this for about, I'd say 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then you'll probably need a new piece of fruit in there. It won't hurt anything to leave it in there, but it will have eaten all the sugars out of it slowly in the refrigerator. It'll do this over time. And then if you want more, give it more pizzazz, put another piece of fruit in there. But I leave my jar in there kefir perfectly preserves your food, kefir. The microbes preserve it. And so it can last months and months and months in your fridge, kefir can, because it has so many good bacteria in it that it preserves the food and keeps it safe, keeps out pathogens. And I just keep adding to my jar. I barely ever take it out and clean it because I'm always adding to it. But I'll take out the fruit after a few weeks and then put in another fresh piece or I'll drink all that and then start a new jar. But it is, and I do this, oh my gosh, it'll last in your fridge for months. So the fruit will have the sugars eaten out of it, and you'll taste it. It'll be gone. And it'll start to break down and everything that you can put a new piece in. But it is such an easy thing to do. And like on some of my older videos, I had, that you should ferment it for 6 to 24 hours. And you can do that. I just found it worked better if I only did it for an hour and then let the fridge do the rest of the work. I thought it tasted better and it lasted longer. The taste did. And so you can do whichever, but just know it will separate into whey and curds if you do, or if you add too much fruit. Okay, so I told you about the lemon peel, which is like a 6-inch piece of lemon peel or piece of orange peel. And that'll last forever in your fridge. You could take a slice of orange, a small slice, just one slice for a quart jar. Now, if you have a half gallon, you can double this. If you have a gallon, you can triple it. Oranges, you can take a small piece of an orange and stick it in your kefir and just let it, ferment away for an hour and then stick in your fridge for a long period of time. It makes it taste really good. Clementines are good. I've had those. I really like clementines. They have a really unique flavor in the second ferment. I think they have more flavor than even oranges do. You could do, oh my gosh, there's just about any fruit will work. The only ones that don't work really well is watermelon or melons because there's so much water in them. They tend to kind of make it watery. But you can try it. But if you do that, don't leave them in for long periods because then they kind of break down and get mushy and you might not like it. You might be fine, but I don't like it. So another thing that I do is I have this cinnamon spice tea bag and it has orange peels and cloves. And I will stick that tea bag in my kefir, especially around the holidays because I love the flavor. And it Makes your kefir taste like cinnamon and spices. And oh my gosh, it's so good. And because there's orange peel in that feeds the microbes and really makes your kefir taste delicious. Another good one is dates and vanilla. Oh, a splash of vanilla in a little tiny piece of a date, or one date for a quart jar. Oh my gosh, it makes it taste so good. And there's a lot of sugar in dates, so it feeds those microbes like crazy. And it really does give it a wonderful flavor. Another thing I want to tell you about is I have a product called Prebio Plus, which I absolutely love. I love it like I love my kefir. And it's a prebiotic, which is it makes your good bacteria grow. Not only in your body does it make it grow, but it also makes it grow in your kefir. So I love to add some Prebio Plus to my kefir because it makes my kefir creamier. Like if your kefir is separated into whey and curds, Prebio is fantastic for keeping your kefir creamy because it gives it new food. And let's say your jar of kefir is separated into whey and curds where you get that liquid. If you throw some Prebio in there, there's a little scoop inside, throw a scoop of Prebio in there, shake it up and put it in the fridge. The next day, it will be a lot creamier and taste really good. And it will have more nutrients, more probiotics, and because your kefir will love it and you'll like the taste better. That's another thing I do. I do all kinds of different things. There's lots of stuff you can do. You can even put garlic. Now, garlic is a prebiotic. So you could put a garlic clove if you want a savory kefir in your kefir. And it loves garlic because garlic has a lot of prebiotics for bacteria. And so if you're wanting more of like to make some cheese or something and you want more savory kefir, you can put a garlic clove in a quart jar of your kefir, let it sit on the counter for an hour and then stick it in the fridge. That makes a yummy kefir. The possibilities are endless. Experiment. There's a lot of fun things you can do. You can put that star anise in there with a piece of orange and give it more flavor. That kind of gives it like a different, like a chai flavor. You can take a chai tea bag and stick it in there for an hour and then stick it in the fridge. Now, if you're putting a tea bag in there, I do remove it after like 24 hours because it tends to break down the bag. But the fruit you can leave in, oh gosh, long time. But if you're putting in a tea bag, you should take out tea bag after 24 hours. We have all different kinds of things you can do. I mean, there's so many good fruits out there. And I just want you to experiment. But second fermenting your kefir it is so good for you. It tastes better. It's fun. It takes like seconds to make. And there's not even really any maintenance on it because you just can leave it in your jar in your fridge. And it's a wonderful thing when you can find a food that preserves the food for months on end. And I've had kefir in my fridge, and I tried it after, 6 months, and it was still good. It still tasted good to me. And I mean, it just perfectly preserves it because there's so much good bacteria in there. But here's the deal. Not only does that do it to you, not only do the good bacteria do that to your kefir, it does it when you drink it, it does that to you. It perfectly preserves you and keeps you young and keeps you healthy because, you're 100 trillion bacteria. And guys, once you really understand that, it can change your whole life. The truth of the matter is I don't live a lot like the rest of the world because I've learned so much from my life experience just through the things that I've learned from bacteria and cultured foods. I learned how to stay healthy. I use these cultured foods like medicine when we need them. I get a little surprised sometimes when I'm around other people that don't understand the benefits that I do, but they don't understand how the body works. And the body is designed to keep you well. And it's supposed to fight off pathogens, fight off viruses and colds and flus. And if you do get it, it's supposed to come back. Your immune system is an incredible machine. And it's not designed to kill everything. It's designed to integrate all of these things and to keep you healthy and balanced and strong. And lots of times we've forgotten that our immune system is designed to handle all of these things going on in our environment. It really is. But if you're not taking care of your body, then it can't do its job to help you. And that's when people get into problems. I want to tell you about somebody that I've been kind of following lately because he's so inspirational. His name is Dr. Zach Bush, and he's an MD. He is a triple board certified physician. He's one of the very few triple board certified physicians in this country. And he has expertise in internal medicine, endocrinology, and metabolism and hospice care. And he just amazes me, the things that he says. He's a very leading edge doctor. And I love following him because he kind of speaks from his heart, but he's also extremely wise. And some of the stuff that he says just blows me away. And I was reading on he's got a great Facebook page. You might want to check him out. His name is Zach Bush MD is actually the name of his Facebook page. But he said something that I thought was really, really enlightening. And it was on his page the other day. And I want to read that to you because it was really inspiring to me. This really moved me when I read this on his Facebook page the other day. And this is from Dr. Zach, and he says, the body doesn't have an organ called the immune system. The human body is an immune system. A system composed of viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites, and a few human elements too. The last decade has uncovered discoveries of this vast universe we call the microbiome. Two paradigm-shifting conclusions have been asserted from thousands of research studies. Neither human immunity or the human brain work without the interaction of the millions of species of tiny organisms that inhabit every niche of the human body. The gut is the Manhattan of the microbiome. Every internal organ, liver, kidneys, vascular system, and brain have unique ecosystems of viruses, bacteria, and fungi that maintain balance and function. So the foundation of the gut and microbiome in human health cannot be overemphasized. In a profoundly eloquent method of checks and balances, Mother Nature has designed our gut barrier, the primary structure that defines your self-identity at a biological level, to be completely dependent on its continuous contact with the microbial population of the earth. So through your breath, food, and all you touch, your microbiome is an extension of you. If you isolate yourself from nature and her biodiversity, you will falter in your self-identity, immune function, and in your mind. One course of antibiotics shown to increase your risk of major depression by 24% and anxiety disorders by 17%. 2 courses of antibiotics in a year, 52% increase in depression and 44% increase in anxiety disorders. Neither the microbiome or the virome are against us. The microbiome communicates via viruses, is the origin of biological life, and is the avenue of adaptation that makes a biodiverse, abundant, resilient Earth. If we fight this, we will die. So please, go hug a tree. That's from Dr. Zach. I love that because so many times we feel like we're fighting these unseen forces when we have this incredible body that is an immune system that is here to serve us. But not only that, it's in everything we touch, in everything we do, everywhere we go. If we learn to work with our bodies, build up its strengths, and, help that by the foods that we eat and the way that we live, and realize that bacteria is not the enemy, and even viruses are not the enemy. If you take care of your body, it will take care of you. And I have lived to see that over and over again, and I see it in the thousands of emails I get from people all across the world. And I believe the body knows how to keep us well, but I believe you are the captain of your ship, and that what you do and what you think and what you believe and what you eat and where you go and how you take care of yourself is everything. And guys, I tell you, it is an amazing world to know that when you're sick, you can reach for these foods. If you have a struggle, there's something there to help you. And I've learned that in my last 19 years. And guess what? You don't have to believe me, but you have to figure that out for yourself. And if you're in a conundrum and you're up sick or you're not feeling well, try it. See if it works for you. Feed that body. Take care of it. Get out in nature. Get your hands in the dirt, because there's a lot of microbiomes and of the earth that we need in our bodies. it's not a secret that farm kids are healthier than kids who don't live on farms, and that's because they have a diverse uh, microbiome there on the farm that has nature and animals, and it helps to boost the immune system. We're connected to it, and I've seen some pretty amazing things in this last year. A lot of amazing things, guys. We've had our struggles this year too. We've had a lot of things happen to us that were unexpected, that made it a struggle. But I believe that struggles that happened to me were here to make me strong. My husband lost his father this year, just like a month ago. And, there was no funeral because of the pandemic. And it almost felt like it didn't even happen because, your community is not there anymore. We lost my dog, which broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. I sat in a parking lot for 12 hours while they were trying to help my dog to breathe. And I didn't know what was going on. And it was so hard. And I tell you, it was a struggle because it just broke my heart because everything was harder. My daughter's husband had an emergency surgery where she had to sit in a parking lot all night long, not knowing what was happening, waiting for him and waiting for somebody to tell her if he was okay. And everything turned out all right. But this year has been like no other. 2020 has been like no other. But here's the thing. It's not what happens to me. I realize that it's not what happens to me or us. It's how we handle it. And when I have to tell you this story, because when I was at my lowest point, I was really hurting. We had unexpectedly had to put our dog down. It was so sad. It just broke me. And, I'm kind of a private person, even though I have a public, podcast and stuff. But I remember one day, finally I broke. And I went onto social media on my Facebook page and I shared, I had a broken heart losing that crazy dog. And thousands of you guys responded back to me. And I have never felt that loved in my life. It was so healing to me that I didn't know that so many of you had been through that, but so many of you had shared your love back to me. I will never forget that. And it healed me. It made me feel like I wasn't, the only person hurting, which I knew that mentally, but the response that I got back, the pictures of people's dogs and the stories they shared with me of their hurt, it was just like, that's how we heal. That's how, even though we can't be around each other like we used to be, oh my gosh, that was like one of the most heartwarming days of my life. I want to thank you for that, for any of you guys that responded, or it was a really healing time for me. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more of the, even if we can't be together, we can be together. And I think, I really think that out of all of this is going to come incredible creativity and incredible love. I think that people are changing, people are growing, and they're having to make peace with the uncontrollable. I felt like I was standing in the eye of a hurricane sometimes with all of this pandemic is swirling around us. But it wasn't what I couldn't control. It was what I could control. And my reactions to things is what I could control. And reaching out was one of the greatest things that I don't normally do that, but that was very healing to me. And I want you to know that I spend my days trying to convince people that if they'll, just pay attention to their trillions of microbes, it could change their life, because it has changed mine. But I continue to be changed by your stories too. And the hundreds of stories that I've gotten back where people's lives have been changed and people have been healed are so healing to me. And so we are all in this together. I know people are saying that a lot, and it might be an overused phrase, but I do feel like together we can really make a difference. And if one person gets healthy, it changes 4 others. That's been proven. Your life, if you change your life and your diet, you can change 4 others almost instantaneously just by changing yourself. So I just wanted to give a little bit on what I've been going through. I know everybody's got, much worse stories than I do. Some other people have hard times, but all of us have been going through our own things, but we do need each other. And if I can help you in any way, I mean, we get so many emails and we try to answer every email we get. And it's really meant the world to me to have the love of thousands of people that I don't even know. I can feel it. It doesn't even matter if I don't see your faces. It does. I feel it. And I want you to know that it means the world to me, but I hope that I can help you too. Because what you put out is what you get back. And so in my honest and sincere heart, I hope that I can help you to find a way to strengthen your body and immune system so you can live a healthier, happy life, because you deserve it. Much love to you, my friends. Have a wonderful week, and stay healthy, stay encouraged. You're loved, and what you seek is seeking you. Have a good one.